really honored to talk to everybody today about choosing the right university and the right to university course, if there is such a thing. So like Dami has said, my learned colleague, I am Dr. Dorothy. I studied in Hull, at Hull York Medical School, and did my first degree at Liverpool. Both quite interesting because I didn't plan to go to both universities. So it's very interesting about how things work out. So talking about going to university and picking your course, let's do a little exercise. So what number is 2? What does 2 represent?
Those in uni.
Those of us in uni. Okay, what does number 1 represent?
Those in secondary or sixth form.
Okay, brilliant. So I'll call out some numbers, and if you are in secondary school or sixth form, it'll be interesting to kind of know what you guys think about university and what course you think that you'd want to study or you're planning towards studying. So, Emanuela, you can write it in the chat or you can say it on the video. Anyone? Emanuela, are you there? Okay. You're not really sure. Okay. That's a very, very fine answer. Vanya? I can see her typing away. You want to be a doctor. Hi, colleague. Okay. Daniela? Let me go on Daniela. Enoch? A football player. I like it. I like it. Anyone else? Anyone else that I haven't mentioned that I don't know is in sixth form or anything else? Is it Dafe or D-A-F-E? I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Okay. Do you have an answer, Dafe? Okay, I can see more ones now. Neurosurgeon. Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. Damn, we have a lot of work to do. Clenham. So we've got doctor, neurosurgeon, football player, someone that's not too sure. Clenham, hi Clenham. Okay, so we're just waiting. Anything, Clenham? Okay, so I'll let you type that in there. So just to show that there are so many different points in everybody's life where they want to know what they're thinking about, what they want to do for the future. And it's never too early to think about what you want to do for the future and then start preparing for where you want to go. In our group discussion, we were talking about what parents can do to help their children. And one thing that I really love that one of the speakers said was, she said, regardless of what parents don't do or do, you are an independent thinker, and that you should be able to think about, where you want to go in life and what you want to do in life. I don't know if many people are from the Nigerian disposition, but I remember my mum always telling me that you're not studying for me, you're studying for yourself. So don't think you're doing me a favor if you excel in school, because it's you that's going to have all the benefits. And in reality, that's the truth. I mean, you're the one that has most of the benefits. So how do you choose what you want to study and where you want to study? So I guess the reality is that what you want to study will always come out of sometimes naturally what you're naturally good at. So obviously, if you're drawn to the sciences, if you're drawn to the human body, if you're drawn to biology, a lot of the time you tend to push towards, oh, maybe I want to work within healthcare or within science or within STEM. So if you enjoy maths and if you enjoy physics, you know, just like Bemi, you might want to go into engineering. You know, and, you know, you might enjoy writing. You might be someone that enjoys history or enjoys, you know, English literature. So therefore you want to now go and study, you know, linguistics at university or English literature or history. So I guess a lot of what you want to study at university will be by what you're good at naturally, what some of the things that God has given you naturally, or even some of the things that you work hard at and you enjoy doing. I think in today's climate, picking a university degree is very important, because not only is degree a lot more expensive than it ever was, degrees now hold different values. So I would say in our parents' generation, you know, it was very, very difficult to get a first class. In our generation, it's a lot easier to get a first class. More people are getting first class degrees at uni, and that's the ranking of the university. So picking a university degree is really, really important, because it's also an expensive decision. So you have to make sure that that decision is a well thought out decision. And I think sometimes people think I'll just go to uni, and when I go to uni, I'll be fine. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work like that. There are careers like medicine that create a pathway for you that is quite clear, but that pathway starts very early on in your educational journey. So I'm talking from year 9. Anyone who's studying medicine, you know, you should, you know, be trying to get some of the top grades in core subjects such as maths, biology, chemistry, physics, even English, because I went to medical school as a graduate. So I had already done a degree before, yet when I applied to medical school, they asked me for my GCSEs, and I already had a degree. So that, you know, for courses like medicine, if for those who are interested in medicine, this is something that you have to start putting into, start preparing for as early as year 8, because by year 8, you'll be streamed into your sets. By year 9, you choose your subjects for GCSE. By GCSE, depending on what GCSEs you get, you determine your A levels. But for other career paths, it's not always that straightforward. And therefore, a lot of research has to be done. And you're really in a really privileged generation where there's so much information online about what courses that you can do and where those courses take you. We're also in a generation where people's courses and what they end up doing in life does not take a conventional route. So you will see people who do history or who do law who end up in finance. But there are some caveats in those kind of experiences that I will explain. So in terms of choosing your course, you've chosen your course now. So you say you want to study criminology, or you want to study psychology. Now, I always say, I think Bemi mentioned it when she was talking, she said that you have to kind of have a plan. So in terms of, you know, you can't just go to university, get your degree and just think that there's going to be a job waiting for you. Unfortunately, that's not the case. If you're choosing careers that don't necessarily have a direct route or direct, this is the job you get after, I think there's a lot of planning that has to go into it, and there's a lot of extra work that has to go into it. I would say the first thing when you're looking at universities, and they do matter, is number one, which university do you want to go to? And with what I am achieving, where does that fall? Which is the highest ranking university I can go to? So for university rankings, for general rankings, the Good University Guide will tell you the rankings every year. It's updated every single year. Then after rankings, you now want to say, where does my course fall in rankings? Now, for different courses, rankings matter in different ways. And some may argue that rankings don't matter anymore, but some will argue, depending on the course, they do matter. So for something like medicine, they've just opened 4 or 5 new medical schools. They're opening medical schools every year. Ranking doesn't matter because it's a standardized course around the country. It's a governing body that gives us our exam. So every doctor graduates at the same level and enters into the same governing body. But then you have courses, for example, like law. And law is a very oversubscribed course. And depending on where you want to go with your law, depending on what kind of firm you want to work in, depending on the kind of how far you want to go with your law, rankings can therefore be can be very important. So, for example, when we look at universities, there is a group of universities that they call Russell Group universities, and they're the top 22 universities, research universities in the country. So some of the law schools fall into that, and the law firms, and we call them Magic Circle law firms, which are the top law firms in the country, only recruit from certain law schools. They're not apologetic about it. They don't apologize about it. They say this is where we recruit from. We only get the best of the best. And so there are different courses that will determine how important the university ranking is for them. Then there's another thing also in terms of choosing university, location. Location is also very important because different locations will also come at a different expense and come at a different experience. If I'm correct, Bemi, did you get the job at Siemens in Hull?
Yes, I did.
Fantastic. So with Hull, whilst we were at university, if I remember, Siemens got the contract to come to Hull. And that was a real right place at the right time. And also for the fact that she'd actually done the work, you know? So different situations can happen. And also she has a very, very solid degree and a skill set. So I would say, you know, with the degrees such as medicine, engineering, you know, vocational degrees, because you have a specific skill set that can only be taught at university, you're often very sought for. But depending on who's looking at you, or what university you've come from, depends who's looking at you. So I'll go from the top. What course do you want to study comes from which gifts do you have? What do you naturally want to do? And what do you see, where do you see yourself actually excelling in life? Where do you want to go to university? How important is the ranking of my university? And what skills or academic credentials do I have to go to this type of university? So I've mentioned a good university guide gives you the rankings of universities. I've also mentioned that different courses have different rankings. So for example, I went to Liverpool to study physiology. And at the time it was the top for physiology. But I also got in there for medicine, but I missed my place. So then I ended up doing physiology there. Then Hull York Medical School, I ended up going to Hull York Medical School. I had never heard about it, but there was an aptitude test that I did. I didn't do too well, so I had to apply to Hull York. Not that it wasn't, but the way they scored was different. But I did well in my interview and I did well for my personal statement. So those were the reasons why I went to my university. But there were definitely, again, it comes back to the fact that when I applied for medicine really doesn't kind of matter what medical school you go to in terms of your medical degree. Now, I take back that doesn't matter because I think that's again, a very debated topic about the university that you go to doesn't matter, because you don't just go to university to get your degree, but you also go to university to create a network, a lifelong network. You know, my sister, she studies medicine at Imperial College in London, and her network there, because, for example, her lecturers have been the leaders of how we've managed the COVID-19 pandemic, and those are the people that are lecturing her. So she already has access to certain levels of people in community that will position her in a different way. So yes, we're both studying medicine, but her connection and her network is completely different because of the people that are lecturing her, because of how prestigious her university is. The same with my friend. She did her master's at Oxford, and she got a 2-1, she got a master at Oxford, but she did her master's in embryology, and she worked with the PhD student of the man who discovered IVF. So whenever she walked into an embryology clinic or fertility clinic, she got the job straight away, purely because of the university that she went to. So university rankings can matter in terms of how far you want to go within your network. So there are many things to think about when you're considering. And university doesn't happen overnight. It goes back to what Remy mentioned about you start early, you prepare early, you start thinking about the subjects that you need to do, you do the research, you go onto the website, you think of the university that you want to go to, you say, okay, am I working at a B? Okay, they say they want an A, right, I need to work harder at my maths, or work harder at my Spanish, or work harder at my French, or and all those kind of things. And Bemi just mentioned that there's an opportunity to transfer universities depending on the course. If you feel that, you know, I want to go to a different uni or a better university. And so, and even again, one thing again, because my brother is also a medical student, he's in Bulgaria, he's abroad. So there are opportunities to even study abroad, and when it comes to university. So there's so many options. And the reality is that the options are online. The options are so much information about what you can do, what you need to do, and where you can go after. And I've got some information about some of the things that particularly are useful, like Dami mentioned in my bio. She mentioned that I'm really keen on improving representation of Black minority ethnic groups in higher institutions. And when I say higher institutions, that means university and also even more elite institutions. And there are so many widening participation programs that are tailored for the Black minority ethnic groups. One of them, so I noted some of them down. So, for example, if you just type in, if you go onto, for example, University of Cambridge websites, and you type in widening participation, they have about at least 12 projects that are running to increase and to help and to even make it easier for Black minority ethnic groups to go to higher institutions like Oxford and Cambridge. So, for example, this one has been around since I was in college, so we're talking about 13, 14 years ago. Sutton Trust, Insight Plus, Experience Cambridge, STEM Smart, so that's for people that are into science and technology, Experience Cambridge, and the same if you go to on the Oxford website, and if you go into any institution, there are so many widening participation programs. I know, for example, Hull York Medical School has a widening participation program. If you come from Hull, if you come from a certain background, if you come from a certain house earnings, you get an automatic interview into for the medical school. And to be honest, the interview is the hardest thing to get for any aspiring medical student. And for Hull York to give that just because they want to widen participation is an opportunity that shouldn't be missed. So there are so many opportunities in terms of going to university. And I just want to end with this, because I think sometimes people think that university is a chore, or university is just something to do to appease your parents. I think university is a really amazing experience. And it's meant to be an experience. It's meant to kind of be a transition into adulthood, and also to position you in the working world, you know, to give you that edge in the working world. So it's a very, very important decision. And I think that it's important to make sure that that decision is backed by a lot of research. As I said, it's a very expensive decision. So doing your research, preparing yourself, doing the work experience, for example, like Bemi mentioned, getting the internships, and finding out from people in the field that you want to be in. And that will definitely give you a good footing when you are applying to university. So I just want to leave a few minutes for questions, if that's possible, and my battery's about to go.